We are live. Hello, guys. Welcome back to Solo Club. Happy Friday. I've got a coffee, which I desperately need because it's been a very long week and there's a very long week next week coming up as well. So busy times as always. But yeah, I hope you're well if you're joining me now, which a few people are, and if you're watching this in the future. The numbers that these live streams do in the future are fantastic. We've been really pleased with them. So keep watching, keep subscribing if you haven't done already. And as always, a quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't checked out the Substack newsletter yet, it's down below. That is basically me sending out my thoughts about this business every Friday morning. I'm now doing something for paid Substack people as well. So people who are lovely enough for some reason to pay me for my Substack posts and stuff, you're getting something now. So you're getting a almost daily, I'm trying my best, a daily kind of journal, and it's like a public journal basically. And I'm trying to give away as much as I can without giving away too much, if that makes sense. But I'm using it as a kind of outlet to talk about what I'm planning, how I'm feeling, what happened yesterday, what I've got planned, anything, that classic journaling thing, really. And I just suddenly thought earlier this week, the whole thing about building in public and building your business in full view of everyone is quite a good idea. Possibly, maybe a terrible idea. Who knows? But yeah, if you are one of those people who pays for Substack, you're lovely. Thank you, and everyone else who just subscribes to Substack, you are lovely. Everyone's lovely. Everyone is absolutely lovely. Cheers. See you later. No, there is more to this. Right, as always, guys, I'm not going to look at the comments. I'm not going to look at the chat window until I've done my kind of rambling on about today's topic. But please fill that list, that list, fill the chat window with questions. The last two um, live streams we've done have been brilliant in terms of questions. You lot have really gone for it, so keep them coming. And they don't have to be about what I'm talking about today. They can be about anything to do with this business. If you've got a burning question you've wanted to ask me for a little while, please do. And equally, if if you're struggling with something to do with your own content creation or your own business, ask me a question. I will answer them, I promise. Whether or not my answers will be helpful, I don't know, but I promise I will answer. So stick those questions in the chat window, and I will come back to them in a little while. The other thing to mention, again, is the free Discord server. So the Solo Club Discord community is growing very slowly, but very satisfactorily. I can't say that word. I'm very pleased with it, basically. It's growing at a rate that is nice, and the people in there are lovely. And they are people like you and I, people who are either running content businesses, who work in the content industry, or who want to become content creators. And the whole point of that Solo Club Discord server is to bring you all together. It's not about me at all. It's about you lot. So it's completely free. The link is below. Go and check it out. Okay, quick slurp of coffee. Lots of people are joining. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. I've never said that before in my entire life. Today, I want to talk about quite a big topic, really, and it's something which rears its head not every week, but it definitely rears its head every month, one way or another. And if anyone is watching this who is a fellow content creator doing this for a living or doing it very seriously, you'll know what I'm talking about. And that is saying no, the word no, shock horror, to big brands. And the reason that I want to talk about this today is because I've said no to a big brand this week. And as always, I can't say who it is because it's just not a very good idea. If I say who it is, but I'm not going to betray confidences and all that sort of stuff. You can take some guesses and stuff, but it's a big brand. It's a brand that you've probably heard of, I would guess. Certainly, people who are interested in this industry and the kind of stuff that we do and we work with. But yeah, I'm not going to say who it is. But yeah, you'll have heard of them. They're the sort of brand that you'd want to work with. If they contacted you and said, "We want to do this, this, and this with you," you'd think, "Yes, please," straight away. So saying no to a brand like that is, well, it sounds like madness completely. It certainly sounds like madness when you bear in mind the fact that the brand's products are fantastic. They are really good. I use them myself fairly regularly, and yeah, I'd recommend them to anyone who needs that sort of stuff. And equally, they are relevant to my audience. So we've got a big brand, we've got relevant products for my audience, and we've got products that I genuinely think are fantastic and I use regularly. So why on earth would I say no? So I suppose to kind of set the scene for this, when you first start in tech content creation in this industry, and this doesn't just apply to tech, it applies to anything really where you end up working with brands and reviewing their products and showing their stuff on your channel, whatever that might be. So it's relevant to quite a wide range of creators. But when you first start out, when you start to get a bit of traction, when your audience starts to build and you start to get subscribers and your views start to increase and you see some momentum, you will naturally start hearing from brands. I talked about this a few weeks back that I don't think I made the mistake back then of doing quite a bit of outreach, reaching out to brands and trying to get them to send me stuff and trying to get in with them. Looking back, I wasted time doing that because what happens as your brand, as your YouTube channel grows, those people come to you. Those brands do come to you. It happens naturally. So but what happens initially is that you get a shed load of not the best brands in the world getting in touch with you. So very kind of cheap, cheap products that they sell, mass market stuff, brands that you've probably never heard of, but which sell a shed load of their stuff on Amazon or wherever. And the products, generally speaking, some of them, there are some gems in there, but they're quite rare. Most of the stuff is terrible. But because you're at that point, you're a small creator, and you're trying to find your feet, and just the idea that a brand would send you something that you can just have and review and do what you want with for no money whatsoever is quite attractive. And you will say yes to a lot of those things. And I did that. So I've got a cabinet over there, which I won't embarrass myself with and show you, but maybe I will one day, is full of stuff that I've been sent from brands. And 99.9% of it is terrible. And you've never seen it on the Marelis Reviews channel because it arrived, I looked at it and thought, oh dear, and put it in a box and forgot about it. So I've wasted my time. They've wasted their time, bless them, sending me stuff. It's not fair on them. But it's a learning thing. You just say yes to stuff because it sounds exciting. And then you rapidly realize it's not worth it. What happens though over time as you keep getting bigger and your audience grows and your influence gets starts spreading out a bit more, you do start to hear from bigger brands and brands that you've probably heard of that have products that you definitely have used yourself potentially, or you've wanted to use, you've wanted to feature on your channel. And when that happens, that's really exciting. It's the kind of it's the holy grail of having these big brands get in touch, and it can happen relatively early. I think the first big brand I had get in touch, I can't think who it was. I think, oh, I know it was. It was Sennheiser. Sennheiser, who make headphones and all sorts of pro audio equipment, they got in touch when I had about 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which was a lot for me. 10K. I reached that point relatively quickly, and it was a very big number for me. But then to get Sennheiser, and I didn't do any outreach. They just came to me and said, "Look, we've got some stuff we'd like you to check out. Can we send you it?" To which I said, yes, please. And that was a great fit because I love headphones. Headphones was a big part of what I was planning with my content, and it was a great fit for the audience as well. So it can happen quite early. The thing with this, and what you have to be very kind of conscious of, is that there are three things that are absolutely vital when it comes to working with a brand to make it worth it for you and to make it worth it for them and to make it worth it for your audience. The first thing is relevancy. So if a big brand gets in touch and says, "Look, we like your stuff, we like your channel, we think your audience could like our products, can we send you X?" And you look at X and you think, well, this product came out 3 years ago. It's not particularly relevant now. No one seems to be buying it or talking about it. You do a quick Google search and the last few reviews are from 3 years ago. It's not relevant. And, okay, it's great. It's a big brand. They could send you it. You could use it, keep it, whatever. But is that video going to do anything? Is it going to perform? Probably not, because it's just not trending. There's no interest there for it whatsoever. The other thing, number two, is the audience fit. So that thing, that X product, has to be of interest to your audience. It has to be. If it's not, why on earth would you put it on your channel? It'd be like me taking a washing machine, and would people want to see a washing? You get the point. A washing machine and reviewing that on Marketers Reviews. No one cares at all. People don't come to my channel for washing machine reviews yet. So it has to be relevant. It has to have a good fit with your audience. And thirdly, and I think easily the most important if you're doing this seriously, there has to be a financial benefit in it for you. So there has to be a financial benefit in it for the brand, because if they send you something, you review it and you recommend it, but then no one buys it, they've wasted their marketing dollars giving you that thing. And equally, if there's no financial incentive for you, why bother? That video is going to cost you money to make. It will cost you potentially in outside help if you've got people, editing your videos potentially. It might cost you in gear if you realize that you need to get a new camera in or a new something to help you review and feature that product. That's cost. But the biggest cost of all, your biggest overhead, which will always be your biggest overhead forever, for as long as you do this, is your time. So your time in creating that video, if you don't at least break even with that, it's utterly pointless unless you're just doing this for a bit of a laugh, which is fine. If you're just doing this as a hobby and you like the idea of getting the free stuff and keeping it and showing people it and then enjoying using it, fine. But if you're going into this like I did with a business mindset, you have to think about creating profitable videos or videos that break even but help you grow the audience. It's those two things really. So those three elements, the relevancy, the audience fit, and the financial benefit for you and the brand, if one of those fails, it's a no-goer. If all three fail, obviously it's a no-goer. But I genuinely think if one of those doesn't work, you've got to say no. And that sounds crazy, particularly if we're talking about big brands. Quick slurp of coffee. I'm not sure why I announced that. It's obvious I'm having a drink. So this brand earlier this week, I won't mention who they are again, but they nailed the first two. So I mentioned this earlier, the relevancy and the audience fit were bang on. The relevancy, that they're always launching new products that are perfect for this era, really for the era that we're in, and for the audience that they are targeting, and they arrive relatively regularly, if you like. There's normally something new they can talk about and show you. And the audience fit, like I say, although it's not my primary thing that I show on Marelis reviews and have the audience for, there is definitely a want from my audience to show that stuff on the channel. So those two things, brilliant. Where it all completely fell down was the financials. I won't talk about the specific numbers, but they came to me and said, "Look, we'd like to work on a package with you where you feature us on several videos and on YouTube, long form dedicated videos, and some shorts, some short form stuff for TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram. Can you think about how you'd package that up and what it would cost, and et cetera, et cetera?" So I went back with a price, which was utterly fair. I think it was based on me reducing the price, the regular price, based on the fact it's a package deal. Fully expected a bit of negotiation, as you do. That didn't really happen. If you can call it negotiation, which you can't, what happened is that they came back and said, "Okay, we want to give you this amount," and the amount they gave me was a tenth of what I'd quoted. Basically, it was not a negotiation. It wasn't a case of, can we just come down slightly to this, or this is our budget, can we meet somewhere. It was, we want to give you this, almost as though I hadn't quoted the original figure. It was that much lower. To be insulting, really. With a lot of, if you run your own business and you run into this thing before with potential clients, where you give them a price at the back of your mind, thinking there'll be a bit of negotiation here. I need to keep that in mind, and they come back and say, "We're going to pay you that," and it's like, your price was here and their price is down here somewhere. That ain't fair. I'll always remember in my old job where I used to quote for hotel booking systems, is what I used to sell, and I'd put together. They were relatively expensive systems, and they're all obviously there are different modules within each system. So you'd price up each thing individually, so you could take things out and put things in. I remember quoting one guy, came to about 15 grand or something, with several modules within it. Sent him this proposal, and a couple of days later it came back, and what he'd done was cross out my pricing and put the exact amount he wanted to pay for each module. And each price he put in was at least 60% lower than the price that I put in originally. I'll never forget that. And I remember seeing that and thinking, that isn't really how negotiating works. It's not how I negotiate with suppliers or people that if if I'm a customer of someone, I don't negotiate, and I don't do that. Anyway, this wasn't quite as bad as that, but it was a case of this is our price and this is our budget, and it's very low. They didn't say that in so many words, but it was very, very low. So I said no straight away. I wasn't rude about it. I wasn't as dismissive about it as that. But what I did say was, look, this isn't really how this works, and that isn't worth my time. It means that video immediately is costing me. It's not going to make me any money. I need to build this business. I need to keep the lights on. I need to make profitable videos, and equally, I think I can drive some very good sales, at least referrals, your way. We could make this work, but it has to be right for both parties. And it all kind of went quiet after that, unsurprisingly. This has happened a couple of times with this brand. And what's interesting as well, and again, I won't name any names, but I know of at least two other creators who had the exact same exchange with this brand on the exact same day. And you can guess what their reply was as well. It was identical to mine. And the reason that's so important, I've talked about this before on these live streams, is that the last thing I want to do, and I've done it, by mistake in the past, completely unintentionally in the past, is reduce the perceived value of what we do. And that's for two reasons. One of them is the time. Our time as creators is incredibly valuable. We're basically running production companies pretty much on our own. I know I've got a small team now, which I'm absolutely blessed with, rather. But generally speaking, you are the presenter, you're the writer, you're the editor, you're the publisher, and because of that, you've built up an audience. So the first thing that is of high value is your time, because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for your time to create those reviews or whatever it might be. The second thing is access to that audience. So on Marelis Reviews, I've built an audience of 125 and nearly 126,000 subscribers. That has taken me 3.5 years of incredibly hard work. And that audience trusts me. They've built that know, like, and trust thing. Not all 125,000. Obviously, that's not really how YouTube works. But there's a good portion of that audience that trusts what I say. And they're looking to me for advice on buying things. So if you're a brand and you want me to say nice things about your product because you think that I might like it, that's there's serious marketing value there. Serious marketing value there. And you've got to respect that. You've got to respect the access to that audience. If you were paying for access to Facebook's audience, Facebook charges you handsomely for pay-per-click advertising. Same thing with YouTube. YouTube, but same thing with Google with their ads platform, LinkedIn, etc. You pay for access to these audiences because they're curated and they're valuable. Within those audiences, there are potential customers. And that has to be valued. And what I don't want to do is, by just saying yes to these big brands because they're a big brand and I like their products, even though the fee is very low, I don't want to bring down that perceived value, because we won't be profitable creators if we do that. So I'm glad I wasn't alone. That's reassuring. And equally, I'm glad that my fellow peers did the same thing as me and said, no, see you later. So that was the lesson for me, really, this week. And a lesson that, like I say, happens not too regularly. And I should kind of highlight here that the majority of big brands that I work with are lovely, and they completely get this. They totally understand the value of what we do. And that's my overriding experience, really. But you just occasionally get these instances where they don't get it at all. And if what it feels like, and this may or may not be fair, but it just feels like you see them working with much, much bigger creators and much bigger media outlets and splashing a lot of cash clearly on very big marketing campaigns. And they kind of then come to people like me and us smaller creators and say, here's the dregs, take it, you should be happy with it. And I'd argue, again, having worked in marketing for many, many years, that the size of the audience is totally irrelevant. It's how good a fit that audience is and how much they trust the person that you're giving your stuff to talk about. That is gold dust. I've said this several times, I think, on these live streams, that my marketing career just missed influencer marketing by about a year or two. And I don't want to go back to that field at all, but if I was still working in that field now, I would I'd chop something off to have access to that market, because it's so cost effective to work with influencer marketing, if you do it right. But you have to respect those people that are doing the influencing. Horrible word, but you get the point. Right, let's dive into your questions. Lots of people on, which is great. Hello, everyone. I do need another drink of coffee. Paul's on. Hi, Paul. Tech Puppeteer. I think you've been on before. Gavin Davies. Lots of very familiar names, including Callum. Hi, Callum. Mitch, Luke, Tobias. Happy Friday, everyone. Right, let's hit me with your questions, guys. I've got quite a few people watching as well. Hi, Santos. Don't want to miss anyone out, but I probably have done. Apologies if I have. But yeah, hit me with some questions about what I've talked about. You know, if you've got questions about working with brands, I think of all the questions that I get most regularly, it's how do you charge for sponsorship? A brand has offered me this, they've done that, they've asked for these conditions or whatever. I don't know what to do. I don't know all the answers. I'm still learning myself every single day. But stuff like that, you can ask me you can ask me anything. Literally ask me anything. That's the whole point of these Q&As. Let's have a look. Right, Paul has got some questions here. Right, let's have a look. So, a brand, let me get a bigger window here so I can see what I'm doing. Paul says, a brand I'm still under contract with have come back with another contract because they have a new device. They are willing to cut the last contract short to start afresh. This is a multiple part question. They're asking for a lot more work than the last time, but for less money, citing the fact that our last collaboration didn't really do anything for them and didn't pull in the views. I agree with them. I agree with what they are saying, but asking for more work and 4 videos for less money than last time seems a little off. I've asked to discuss, and they are saying it's the maximum they can offer. They may be able to drop the workload to 2 videos for the less monetary value. They obviously also want the raw footage and any social posts I make. So they want you to make these videos, but they also want the content you're creating, I guess, for their own purposes. So they want to use you not just as a someone who's reviewing their stuff, but also a production company. So they can just take the stuff you've made and do their own things with it. They want quite a lot, Paul, don't they? These people. Okay, so the first video they're saying didn't perform well in terms of views. First thing is, what does that mean? Because you could have a video that gets 200,000 views and only delivers 4 leads to a brand, 2 of which convert. Or you could have a video that does 30,000 views and delivers 500 leads to a brand, 200 of which convert. So views don't mean anything. The first thing I would say to them is, what's happened? What are you not happy with? Is it the conversion process? I don't know if they can give you numbers in terms of how many leads that came from your video, and if they should be able to, obviously. And from those leads, what was the conversion rate? Is it that they're worried about? Is it the fact that you sent 20 clicks their way and none of them converted? If that's the case, then there's all sorts of reasons that can have happened. One of them is, obviously, you may have got the read slightly wrong. I've done this before where you perhaps didn't do the best job of illustrating the benefits of the product, but more than likely it might be something in the customer journey. So you talk favorably about something. The viewer thinks, okay, this sounds nice. They click on the link that you've got in your description. They end up on a landing page. And if that landing page doesn't carry on the story as you started it, and if it's complicated and there's no obvious call to action and loads of tech, if it's just a rubbish buying experience, they will bounce. They will just disappear straight away. I'm not suggesting that is the case with this, but there's lots of questions in terms of why didn't it work last time? The other thing, Paul, is if they weren't that happy with it, why are they coming back to work with you again? I've had this before where brands have said, yeah, the number of referrals that you sent through from your video weren't as good as we were hoping for, really. But can we do another 3 videos? To which my response is normally, well, something's worked, hasn't it? Because why on earth would you spend money again on someone who you're not confident is doing the job for you? So I think you're doing the right thing. Get them on the phone, get on a Zoom call, just be open with them and say, look, what is it that you're not satisfied with? And if they just say it didn't have enough views, that again, and unless I'm sure you didn't do this, hopefully, but if unless you agree a kind of baseline number of views for an integration, please don't do that. If a brand ever comes to you and says we want 30,000 views minimum, say no. You don't never guarantee views. I'm guessing you haven't done that in this case. the number of views is irrelevant. What is relevant is how many leads you sent their way and what happened to those leads. What was the process? And the good thing with this, Paul, if you show interest in this and if you show a bit of knowledge around conversion and all, kind of the customer journey process and a bit of marketing nous, they'll start to realize that you're a force to be reckoned with. Really, you know what you're talking about, and more importantly, you care about what happens after people click that link. I think what can happen with a lot of YouTubers is they get big brand deals, they do the integration, they put the link in the description, and then they just crack on with the rest of their life and do something else afterwards. I've always been very interested in what happens after people click that link. For me, it's a no-brainer, partly because I come from a marketing background, I suppose, but I want to know that those link clicks are doing something, because why on earth are we doing this? It comes back to what I was saying 20 minutes ago. This has to work for both parties. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Why are you sending me something, paying me to talk about it, and then no one is biting, or people are biting, but they're not following through with the purchase? What's going on? You should work together on that. But yeah, asking you to do more for less money. No, no. You've set the most important thing with this, Paul, is that you set a baseline for your rate with this brand, and that's where you work from. You don't go below that. That's not the way this works. But just ask loads of questions about what they're not happy about. Luke, hello, Luke. Hey, Mark. I was wondering if your academy could have a monthly plan option for payments. Would love to join a UK-based community for starting YouTube. I love to hear that, Luke. In terms of the you want a UK-based community. I know that myself and some other creators have talked about this, that we don't really have that representation over here. So in the States and various other countries, but mainly the States, there are some very, very good kind of in-person creator events, VidCon and all that sort of stuff. We don't have anything really in the UK, which is a bit weird because we have a huge creator industry over here. But I'm not, anyway, if you do know, let us know in the chat. But I'm not aware of anything remotely interesting, like gathering wise for creators in this country. So I'm not suggesting Solo Club will become that. It'd be amazing if it did, but I think it's certainly a place for guys like yourself to get to know each other and get some support and stuff. And the academy is built around that premise. So it's about me sharing how this business works and giving you the right footing to go about it by yourself. In terms of the monthly plan, the monthly payment options, at the moment, Luke, I don't think there are. Callum is the man to talk to with this, because he's running the academy behind the scenes. Callum will, if he's still watching, he may chip in, but I'm fairly sure we don't have that at the moment. We'll take that on board though, and it's something we'll think about potentially for the near future, hopefully. Paul has said the thing I wanted to tell people I was not told to in the contract. I definitely didn't do any. Yeah, so you've done everything right, Paul. You haven't kind of entered it into a contract where you've tied yourself down to a certain number of views. Yeah, I'd just ask plenty of questions. The views thing, the minimum views thing, and I've had this with again, I can't mention the brand, but I've had another big brand get in touch recently, and they've been in touch on and off throughout the last few couple of years, really. They they just refuse to pay realistically for sponsor integrations. They try and lean on affiliate revenue, which is very hard with their product to generate, unfortunately, because of the type of product, even though it's a very good product. And yeah, they're obsessed with the number of views. And again, this is something you tend to find with bigger brands. Smaller brands seem to have a bit more. They seem to approach their marketing a bit more in a bit more of a modern fashion. A lot of bigger brands are kind of weighed down by KPIs and board meetings where big numbers mean something. So they'll want, they don't mean anything generally, but they mean something on the chart. It's that classic thing. Is it Chandler? God rest his soul. In Friends talks about, if all the lines go up, it's his boss, isn't it? If all the lines go up, I'm happy. That's kind of where this mindset, this mentality is. And this particular brand that I'm talking about, they are obsessed with with views. And I've said to them, look, views, I can't guarantee views. I don't know of any YouTube channel these days that doesn't have fluctuating views. All of them do. Even the big guys, they have very all over the place view. The views fluctuate wildly. So you can't use that as a marker for any kind of performance, really. Equally, like that example I gave you a moment ago, a very highly viewed video may be utterly useless as an as a sponsor integration, because of the 200,000 people that watched it, very few may come through. One of the most popular videos I've ever made, in terms of, I say popular, and what I mean by that is in terms of referrals that I've sent across to the brand, is for a chair that is sat just behind here, which is the Hinomi H1 Pro. Um, which I use every day, by the way. I get some people, 'cause I use this IKEA chair all the time for these live streams and what have you. But if I'm doing content, I'm generally sat on this chair, 'cause it means quite a lot to me as well. I've had it for a long time. It's very comfy. A lot of people see this and say, "Where's your Hinomi chair? Do you not use it anymore? How come you still why don't you take that video down if you don't use it?" It's there. I use it when I'm editing and doing other anyway, small rant. But the point being, that H1 Pro, I think the video has done 40,000 views in 2 years or something. So it's still, don't get me wrong, that's a nicely performing video, but it's not massive. But it sells every week. 2 or 3 chairs get sold because of that video. And it works well for me, and it works well for the brand. But that 40, is it 30, 40,000 views? They've taken a long time to get up. For a long time, it had done about 10 or 15,000. And this brand I was talking about a moment ago, that for them, that would not be enough. No matter how many referrals you're sending through, they want 500,000 views minimum within 30 days. Well, see you later. It really annoys me, but I know why they're like that, because like I say, they are tied up in red tape and corporate stuff. It's a shame. Here's an interesting question from James. What's for tea, Mark? Is it Friday fish and chips? Well, tonight it's daddy daycare duty, because my girlfriend's going out. Bless her, she hasn't been out for ages. Any new parents will know what this is like. I'm out tomorrow, so she's out tonight with a friend. So I'm daddy daycare, but that also means I can eat whatever I like. And the reason I say that, in fact, I can always eat whatever I like, but my girlfriend's gluten and dairy intolerant. We get through all sorts of topics on here. We go down some very weird winding roads, don't we? Going from sponsorships to gluten free. Anyway, so she's gluten and dairy free. So when we have takeaways, it's quite we have to try and work out which one to go to. We not more often than not have different takeaways, which is fine, but sometimes it's nice just to think, well, I haven't got to worry about that. I can have whatever I like. So I'm going to have a pizza. I think I might have a takeaway pizza or Chinese. Should I have Chinese? I don't know. I'll have a think about it. Don't get me talking about food, James. We'll be here all night. Can't be here all night because I need to get back to my son. Oh, God. Tobias, would you say that your Creator Academy will also be of value for creators focusing not on tech, but, for example, offering courses regarding online marketing, life coaching, or other topics? Absolutely. That's a really good question, and it's a really important question, because the academy has nothing to do with tech YouTube at all. I mean, I'll use that as a reference because that's my point of reference personally. But it's based on it. You can apply the learnings and the processes and the techniques and the tools and things to any creator business. So yeah, it has nothing to do with tech basically. Very good question though. I like that question. Do brands collaborate with small bloggers who may not have a presence on YouTube or social media platforms? Absolutely. Blogging's an interesting one. I guess you're referring to kind of traditional, website blogging and that sort of stuff. That industry has taken a bit of a hit recently. I think I did a live stream 2 or 3 weeks ago where I talked about the Google helpful content update, or as a lot of people have called it, the unhelpful content update, which they rolled out in September, October. That has hit a lot of websites. It's hit a lot of niche websites. So websites like the ones you're probably referring to, where they're focused on one particular topic, whether it be perhaps tablet reviews or fishing or whatever it might be. If those websites aren't particularly well designed, or they're very, very ad heavy, or they just haven't had the SEO effort put into them, or basically they're kind of set up to get as many clicks and views and affiliate clicks as possible, then Google has come down really hard on that industry. So my website's been hit by that because we think of design, very poor, in fact, zero investment in SEO pretty much, very ad heavy. and one or two other things as well. So I've been hit by that as well quite significantly. Because of that, the blogging industry it's kind of it's at that stage of a boxing match where it's on the floor trying to get itself back together, keeps getting up and falling down again. Um, the bell hasn't gone quite yet with it, but I would be a little bit cautious if it's something that you're thinking about getting to at the moment. I don't know if you're running it, if you're doing it, you've been doing it for a while. I'm not sure, but it's a tricky one at the moment because this helpful content update has really impacted that kind of industry. That said, if you do have a very active blog, very active website, absolutely work with brands. I mean, they should reach out to you anyway if your website's doing that well. If not, and if you fancy doing a bit of outreach, go for it. If you've got the numbers to stack up to kind of back it up, from analytics, if you can show that you're getting X number of visitors every month and the bounce rate and all that sort of stuff. If it all looks good, brands will be interested. So absolutely try that out. Rob, how many different streams of revenue do you have in total, and what pays more if time equals money? The number of revenue streams, I get asked this quite a lot. I always have to try and count them in my head. There's that many, which is important. It's important that you have multiple revenue streams. It's something like 7 or 8, excuse me, 7 or 8 revenue streams, I think, ish, give or take. And that includes things like ads, sponsorship, affiliate income, Patreon, what else? Other things. I always try and think out what that includes. Ads from the website, AdSense from YouTube, Medium partner program share of that revenue. Yeah, it's a lot of different things. In terms of what pays the most if time equals money, it has to be sponsorships, and I think most creators would say the same things. You can do very well out of sponsorships. It's easily the most profitable source of income because, well, you sit there and talk about a product for if it's a dedicated a full long form video, then it's going to take you a couple of hours to make that video potentially, or do the sponsorship part of it and the editing, etc. That's of the full video, sorry, not just the sponsorship part. If it's a dedicated video, but equally, the payback for that's quite significant, and equally with a integration. So if it's just a 90-second integration, that's 90 seconds of your time. There's more involved around that in terms of obviously using the product and working with the brand to get the right rate and to get the details and get the approvals and all that sort of stuff. So it adds up a little bit in terms of time, but again, it's very profitable because the rates are, if you can command them, which you should be able to, are pretty high. You can do well out of it. It's certainly a lot more profitable than AdSense, because AdSense, for instance, is, well, first of all, you can't control it. It's all over the place. And also it's tied to the entire video process. So, if I get a video that's done, say 20,000 views, which is a pretty decent number, it may make $70 in ad revenue, 70 quid possibly or something. I'm picking those numbers out of the air, but it's not far off that sometimes. So that doesn't, £70 doesn't cover my costs for making that video whatsoever. So that was a long answer, Rob. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. James, YouTube in the UK highlights if you are using an ad blocker. Has seen me start to use Brave browser. Never used that before, but I've thought about it. Don't mind ads, but not every few minutes. Happily pay 5 quid a month for ad free, but I guess you're saying, but not 15, 20 quid. I've never used ad blockers at all. I'm not a YouTube premium member either. But I guess you do whatever you need to do. If you're not happy with ads, then you can get rid of them one way or the other. I know YouTube is clamping down on ad blockers. There's lots of ad blockers that just don't work with YouTube now. And I understand that. It's a tricky topic, but I do understand their stance with that. Their business is advertising. They don't want to have any issues with that. And equally, I think they've said this in statements that the way that most of their creators get paid is via a share of AdSense. And if that's not there, then why would you create and put stuff on YouTube? And YouTube is nothing without people like us. It's just literally nothing. So I kind of get that, but equally I do understand the frustration around ads, and the ads are quite intrusive at times on YouTube. There's no two ways about it. I find myself sometimes watching YouTube and being hit with the third ad in 5 minutes or whatever, and just thinking, oh, ads. Now I have to think, oh, hang on, this is how I make money. But yeah, I understand both sides. Have I missed any questions? Keep hitting me with the questions, guys. We've got another 20 minutes if everyone's up for it. I've got 20 minutes before I have to go home and do the daddy daycare thing. Oh, here's an interesting one. Larissa, personal question. I don't mind personal questions either. Within reason. Is your partner sometimes annoyed about how much you're working? Did you ever consider working together, you and her? We do work together. She's actually the studio manager. She's not here because she doesn't work from the studio, but her official title is studio manager. And she does incredibly important stuff, which, again, I'm not very good at. This is the whole thing when you start getting people to help you and bringing team members in. The idea is that you get people who do stuff that either one, you don't want to do yourself, or two, you're not very good at. And Jen is brilliant at organizing stuff. That's one of her great strengths that I do struggle with sometimes. So she arranges travel stuff. She does all the invoicing. Anything where something needs organizing, either for me or someone else in the team, she just does it, and I don't have to think about it or worry about it. So we do actually work together. She doesn't work full time for the business. I think that would be a mistake. I've never worked full time with any member of my family. If I have worked with them in the past, it's always been on a kind of part time ish basis, and we've never really lived out of each other's pockets, work wise. And that's the same thing with this arrangement. So yeah, I mean, it can work. I've got friends who work with their loved ones and nearest and dearest, and it can work really well. For me, I don't know. I think firstly she'd get fed up with me after a while. I don't know if I'd be the best boss, and I'd be the most annoying boss because I keep forgetting to do things and what have you. But is she annoyed about how much I'm working? Annoyed is probably the wrong word. I think I'm very conscious of this, and particularly being a new parent, it's something where since Harrison has come along, he's 18 months old now, so he's still tiny, cute little thing. And I hate not being there. Again, parents will know this, particularly when your kids are young. I'm sure it changes when they start getting into teenage years and they just want to use you as a taxi and that sort of stuff. But he's not at that stage at the moment. He's just this lovely, cute little thing who is just developing very quickly, and very funny, like really funny, the funniest person I've ever met. I hate not being there. I hate having to leave in the morning. The best time of the day is when I get back and I get to spend time with him. So, and Jen's very aware of that because she spends most of the day with him because she's doing the heavy lifting really. I'm trying to think I've lost my train of thought with this, but the point being, she understands that I'm the one bringing home most of the money at the moment. So it's down to me to make sure we've still got a roof over our head, and that I can build this business and make it something really big for the future. I'll not say big, but I can make it something, or continue to make it something for my son and for our family. So she gets that totally. And this comes right back to something which I think I've spoken about on these live streams before. I've definitely written about it before, which is how important support is at home, whether it be your partner or your friends, your housemate or your kids or whatever, whoever it is, your parents. If you live with someone or you're very close with someone, and you do this kind of job, you have to have the best support possible from them, and equally you have to support them as much as you can. But if you're the one who's doing it full time and you're bringing in the lion's share of the income, there has to be that teamwork between you in terms of understanding what that means. And in this industry, it's very I know this. I can see Ben, hi, lover of tech. Ben, he knows all about this. Things come up out of the blue, so there's two things next week that have come up which I hadn't considered to be a thing at all. They've suddenly appeared out of nowhere. I've got to go and do something, and it takes you away from the family. But they're important. You have to do these things, whether it be a press trip or the opportunity to go and meet someone or whatever it might be. And your partner, the person that you're closest to, has to understand that, and they have to understand why you're doing those things. And it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy at all. But I've got the best possible support at home, and I genuinely, it's a bit of a cliche. I couldn't do it without that support. It would be impossible. If I was in a relationship where they were annoyed about me working all the time, this wouldn't work. I probably wouldn't be sat here now. If I was, I'd probably be in a different mood. I'd be wanting to leave, and is everything okay? That isn't the case. So that's a brilliant question, Larissa, and it's it's the reality of running these kind of businesses that I don't think is always that obvious until you start doing it, that you need a lot of support. But equally, you have to know when to switch off. You have to know that whenever it is Sunday, Saturday, whatever, you have to switch off and be present with your important people. I keep seeing the what's for tea question, James, but I've already answered that. I'd probably answer it again, to be fair. I love food that much. Oh, here we go, Santos. Before you go, so you're off to a meeting, but before you go, you know that I do things with music production. Would you consider a video or a live session on the topic? I've done some videos already, Santos. I've done. You may have seen them. I've done 2 or 3 videos on music production on the M2 Pro Mac Mini. I really enjoyed doing those. It was like a stress test thing of that computer, doing music production stuff. And I've done little things here and there. I've done something with the iPad Pro as well, and Logic Pro. I've done those things just to test the audience, really, just to see how interested people are in those topics. And from the looks of it, there's quite a bit of interest out there. So, what happened after that was the fact that just loads of things happened, and loads of different releases and events and things. So that all kind of got in the way of that project. But I haven't forgotten it. Music is a massive part of my life. It means an awful lot to me for all sorts of reasons. It means a lot to me for all sorts of reasons. And I've always made music and been involved in it. So I want to do more of it. So the answer is, Santos, yes. A live stream is interesting, maybe, but there'll be more content. There'll be more music content. I absolutely promise. Any more questions, guys? We've got another 15 minutes. If you fancy it, we don't have to spend another 15 minutes. We can just pack up and enjoy our weekends. But if you've got any other questions, how's this set looking, by the way? Because I think I mentioned this last week. This is the new live stream setting thing. I'm using it for regular videos as well. But it's I think it's okay. I've turned the TV off. I normally have the Apple TV drone things happening over there, the screensaver, but I forgot to turn it on today. I'm also surrounded by iMacs. I won't try and pick any of them up because I'll probably drop them and have an issue. But it's very quick. It's worth mentioning this actually as a bit of a cliffhanger. I'm dropping, as the kids say, a review. Is it a review? It's a test of the M3, the base model M3 iMac tomorrow on YouTube. And what I do, I compare the M3 iMac with the M1 iMac and a 2017 27-inch 5K iMac. And the way that I test it, I'm not a proper benchmarker, so don't expect numbers and boring test results. The way that I test this stuff is to do 2 things in Final Cut Pro. So I do a render and an export, and I time both of those processes. I normally do it on a piece of 4K footage, so a 10-minute piece of 4K footage, the exact same piece of footage on all 3 computers, same version of Final Cut Pro. Mac OS was slightly problematic because I couldn't upgrade past Ventura on the 27-inch one, but everything else is the same to make the test as fair as possible. And the results are really interesting. So, we've got the M3 iMac, which is brand new, and it's a good, where are we, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5 years younger than the 27-inch iMac, and 900 days younger than the M1 iMac. So you'd think, wouldn't you, that one would smash the other 2? That's all I'm going to say. That's the only thing I'm going to do is look at you like that and say, watch that video tomorrow. It's really interesting. James, have you got your iMac yet? There you go. Just talking about it. So you've got the M1 iMac. It's a brilliant. The M1 version is fantastic, really good. Again, that's the reason you should watch that video tomorrow. But I do have the M3 iMac, and the results of my tests are really, really interesting. Have I missed any questions? Keep them coming, guys. If you want to, we've got another 10 minutes. Anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything I can talk about while I'm waiting for questions? I do need some water. I know that much. In terms of the website, I talked about that a moment ago. So that was hit by, this is markelisreviews.com. That was hit by we think by the Google helpful content update. Things have picked up a bit actually. We've been doing a lot of work on it. So the content on there has expanded. It's not just me writing on there. I've got other people doing. I've got Max, who's the kind of like the one of the writers here. One of the writers is me and him. He's the other writer. He's doing a lot more content on there now. We're using some AI stuff as well for content. And we're doing some changes to the site itself from an SEO perspective. So it's having quite a bit of work done on it behind the scenes. A lot of technical SEO stuff is being carried out, along with some front end stuff. So the design, it will change. Not yet, but it's going to change at some stage slightly. Just to try and do what Google wants it to do, basically, to try and jump on this helpful content thing. And we've seen an upturn in its fortunes, so that the views have gone back up, not to where they were, but they are increasing. Now, some of this is because of the Mac event. So we had the scary fast Apple event a couple of weeks ago. I always see a spike in traffic after that, so I'm fairly cautious about this, because this is the website has formed for doing this after Apple events, but there's other green shoots of recovery, we think, potentially. So a very exciting time for that website. I will talk about it more in 2 or 3 weeks' time and show you some updated stats and stuff on this live stream. Tech Puppeteer says, how far are you with the preparations of the new cohort? We're still working on it. So it's all going very nicely. The website's up and running. You can sign up now if you want to. Link is below. And yes, it's going to be January. The exact date in January is undecided. A few things we've got to round off for that, but it's going to kick off in January regardless. And yeah, everything is going very nicely. Thank you for checking. Do I play video games? If yes, then what is your setup? I used to be a gamer. I used to be a very serious gamer. Well, was I serious? Fairly serious gamer, from about the age of 10 to about the age of 30, I think. I'm 43 now, if you're interested. And then I just fell out of love with it. I remember playing Metal Gear Solid 4, I think, and it was one of those first games that had a really serious intro before you could start playing. And the intro lasted, it felt like about an hour. It went on and on. I just turned it off and thought, I want to just play the game. I don't want to watch a fairly rubbish movie. I got fed up with games getting bloated and multiple updates, and they just weren't that fun anymore. I know you can still play fun games. I know Nintendo still does that very well, but I just fell out of love with it. My setup at the moment is an Xbox Series X there, which I need to get back into playing just because I need to use it for content and stuff. But yeah, there you go. Oh, you're involved already. You're an alumni member. Of course you are. Sorry, I know who you are now. Apologies. That's a good point, actually. Alumni members from the Medium Academy just get full access to future academies. So that's nice. Any other questions? Or are we going to call it a day there? Possibly. All I can think about now is my takeaway later. Although I do have to finish this iMac video. Once my son's asleep, I'm hoping that he's going to give me enough time and not wake up, so that I can finish this iMac video. That's my Friday night rock and roll. I think we're there, guys. I can't see any more questions coming in. I will just, if you've got any last minute questions, shout now. While that's happening, hopefully. Oh, here we go. Larissa, regarding cohort course creation in general, do you think it's a good idea to not have finished your course pre-recorded so you can adapt to the attendees? Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So I think what you're talking about there is kind of creating the course material as you go along, and that is what I'm doing with the academy. Hands up, I'm not just going to create a load of stuff now and then release it in January and February, etc. I'm going to do it. It's planned, obviously, that the modules and the topics, etc., are planned, but the actual content itself, I do want to develop as the course develops. I think that's really important. I think a lot of these, I have no evidence for this at all, but I do think a a lot of these a lot of these cohort-based courses are probably done like this, even though it's not that obvious that's the case. So when a new module appears, it was probably recorded a week ago. So I think it's really important, and the reason is for what you've kind of alluded to there, which is that you can adapt to, well, two things. You can adapt to the members, so you get an idea every week. You'll get an idea of who the members are and what they want, etc. And equally, this industry moves incredibly quickly. It would be a massive mistake, in my opinion, to spend a month creating course content that you're not going to release for another 2 months, and then those 2 months come up and everything's different, or something really important is different that you've talked about. I'd much rather work, with relevant, up-to-date information. The danger of, not danger, the challenge with that is that you have to be on it. You have to make sure you don't fall behind, because if you fall behind, people have paid for your course, and one of the course modules doesn't turn up one week, it's on you. So, but you're right. That's the way to do it, I think. Other methods are available. Obviously, that's just my opinion, but that's how I do this stuff. Okay, guys, I think we're there. Thank you so much for getting involved, as always. And once again, if you haven't checked out two things, if you haven't checked out the Substack newsletter, it's down below. And if you haven't joined if you haven't joined the Solo Club, you can tell it's been a long week, the Solo Club Discord server, the link is below. Both are completely free, no money involved, and you can leave both whenever you want. So just give them a try. You might like it. You may not like it, in which case you can just go. That's no hard feelings. But I think you will like it. Right, guys, have fantastic weekends, and I'll see you again at the same time next week, because these times seem to work very well. So yeah, enjoy your weekends. Have a fantastic start to next week, and come armed next week again with loads of questions, because you guys make these live streams. Cheers, guys. I'll catch you next week.